Anyway, let's get started with our next session. Now, I think I've said it many times, but I'm going to say it again. I have been so impressed by the dedication and the integrity of everybody here, and the willingness and the desire to meet all the challenges when it comes to food safety. And in some respects, that kind of emotive feel, that kind of dedication, is what our next session is all about. And it's a story you're going to find out about. I'm not going to give it away. I'm going to hand over now to Neil Harbison, who, as you know, as you might have met him yesterday, he's a former Irish chef, he's a tech entrepreneur, and he's also the founder and CEO of Happy Doggo. Now, he's going to be joined by somebody you all know, and that's Natalie Dynson. Now, she's the Chief Food Safety and Regulatory Officer at the International Fresh Produce Association. Anyone who's chatted to Natalie also know that she is a passionate dog lover. So do come on the stage, and I'm going to hand over to you.
Hey everybody, welcome to, well, you've been here for a couple of days, but I'm going to talk to you today about something very different. Hopefully it's a talk that maybe gets you thinking about life a little bit. I'm actually living in Thailand, and this is how I spend most of my days. You're probably going to wonder what on earth this has got to do with food safety, but I'll try and explain that as the talk goes on. I actually feed street dogs in Thailand. So this is my moped. This is how I start my morning every day at 6 o'clock in the morning. I started this 3 years ago now, 3.5 years ago, when I was driving home one day and I started feeding them. But the story is a little bit more complicated than that. Actually, I don't know if this thing's working. Oh, it is. Story's a little bit more complicated than that. I'll explain it as I go along. I actually started here in Dublin as a chef and traveled the world. But this was me 4 years ago. I actually ended up in ICU, in hospital, and I look absolutely terrible, I think. And that's because I was an alcoholic. I'd actually drank myself, pretty much I tried to drink myself to death, if I'm honest. And I ended up in ICU for four days. And I got there because I was suffering from anxiety, suffering from depression, and this was basically rock bottom. I'd had a few scares in my life, but never in hospital. I'd actually moved to Thailand to try and lead a healthier lifestyle. So I hit rock bottom, and that's where I discovered the street dogs and started to realize that I maybe needed to change my life and do something meaningful. But I actually come from a corporate world. Like, I used to be at conferences like this. I remember being in this very room, actually, still suffering from alcoholism. It was a big conference, and I remember sort of coming in here bleary-eyed. But I was relatively good at hiding it. I was able to sell my company to a PLC. I was social media and tech was my background. And during that time, I really did enjoy it. I loved it at the time, but there was something kind of missing inside me. I just felt that I didn't really have a purpose. And this is actually the day that I sold my company. You have to do, like, I'm sure some of you have done mergers and similar PR events. If you look closely at the image, I'm absolutely dying with a hangover. I'd been out the night before. Everybody, it's supposed to be their dream, this sort of moment when it happens. But I was kind of a little bit miserable inside. So that's my corporate background. I did that for 10 years here in Dublin and in the UK. But what's maybe more interesting to you guys is the start of my career was I was a chef. And I started at 17. I trained in a place called Cahabrew Street here, which is a catering college. And I worked in Michelin star restaurants. all around the city. But I quickly sort of realized that being a chef is a really, really tough job, as I'm sure many of you know. The hours are very antisocial. You work, in a hot environment, stressful environment. So I said, there has to be somewhere better that I can work as a chef. And I was very lucky to discover that really, really rich people need private chefs. So I went to work on yachts around the world. This is one yacht that I worked on. It's owned by a guy called Paul Allen, who sadly passed away since. But he was the co-founder of Microsoft with Bill Gates. So I was his personal chef for a while. And just to give you some scale of the food that we would order there, like I remember this is like 2005, but my budget for a trip would be for like maybe one guest, or sometimes they'd have 2 or 3 guests with them, so maybe 4 guests. The budget was about 200,000 euros in those days. And what we'd be doing with that would be buying tuna from Japan. We would be flying in burrata from Italy. The freshest strawberries. Like we would have specialized agents who would go and find us the food. But the budgets, I remember specifically one budget being, I think it was a Cannes film festival. We didn't have many guests. I think they might have eaten about 2 meals on the boat, and the budget for food was about 200,000 euros, which is quite a long time ago as well. So huge budgets. But it was a real eye-opening experience in terms of, I'll tell you, the crew ate pretty well the next week, because he obviously just left and went on to the next engagement that he had. But that 200,000 euros of food didn't go to waste. In terms of my own background, yeah, I'm a chef, and I'm going to explain how that applies to what I do at the moment. I remember in terms of food safety, actually, when I was a chef, which would be starting around the years 2000s here, like I remember the first time we had a blast chiller, like a blast chiller that everybody would have now. It came into the kitchen and we were all looking at it like it was some sort of like outer space machine. We didn't even know, like it was so simplified what we were doing back then. There wasn't much in the way of technology. I remember the first times we even had to like write down the time that the food arrived, or the time that the food went into the fridges. And that was new back then. It was like, there was uproar that we had to do it. In fairness, the chefs were not happy. It was an extra job, but I'm sure things have evolved quite a lot now. But yeah, I spent 10 years as a chef, and I've been able to apply that to my life now. So when I tell you that I live in Thailand, I started feeding street dogs after I got out of that hospital bed. I wanted to do something that had meaning in my life. I genuinely thought I was going to die when I was in that hospital bed. I thought that was the end of life. And I was hours away from death, to be honest. And I said to myself, there has to be something more. There has to be something more than spreadsheets or paying the mortgage, or all those things are obviously very important. And I've run businesses, etc. But I felt empty, and I looked back at my life. I was 41, 42 at that time, and I said to myself, there just has to be something more. The one thing that when I was lying there nearly dying, what I was thinking about was playing football when I was young. Like I was carefree and young. I was thinking about friends and family, obviously. What I definitely wasn't thinking about was the latest iPhone that I'd thought was really important. I wasn't thinking about a mortgage or a new car or anything like that. It was the things that really, like when you come close to death, the things that really matter are probably not what you think they are and what you're maybe fighting for every day. So it was really the friendships and the sort of, my dog, that was the other thing that I was obviously thinking about massively. But this is our kitchen in Thailand at the moment. We don't feed people, we feed dogs. So I started feeding dogs. It was one dog that I started feeding after I got out of hospital. I went into the supermarket and bought some dry food and just fed a dog. And I had no great plans, but I quickly went on and grew it where I got a bigger bag of food. And the next day I fed 5 dogs. Again, no huge plan, no no grand vision or anything. I was just a recovering alcoholic, somebody who just got out of hospital, and I wanted to do something good. But we've got to a place now where 3 years later we feed 1,250 dogs every day. So we've built a place in the middle of the jungle, and instead of giving them dry food, we've actually developed a recipe where everything is fresh. So it's a lot cheaper. Obviously, it's a lot more healthy, and what we do is we give it out to volunteers and to shelters. The recipe is rice. It's full of vegetables, coconut oil, eggs, and it's really, really healthy, nutritious food. So we've done that from scratch, which hasn't been easy, but every single day we cook about 280 kg, which I think is about 400 pounds of food every day for the dogs. Sometimes joke that they eat better than we do. These are street dogs who have absolutely nothing in life, and it gets sent out to all the volunteers every single day. So we built that absolutely from the ground up in the middle of the jungle. But what's really important that I figured out was we had to build this. There's 8 to 10 million street dogs in Thailand, and the problem is it's a huge change. And if any of you are trying to change your organizations or trying to change industries, you'll know how hard that is. There's 8 or 10 million street dogs, and it's like one of the most complex problems you could ever try and fix. So feeding them, what I quickly realized was actually probably the least important thing. The dogs will probably always find food themselves. They can scavenge it in the streets, etc. But I quickly realized that maybe population control, so neutering the dogs, sterilizing them was more important. I actually did the first 300 in that Jeep myself, taking them to the vets, getting them neutered. These are all street dogs. They're all not all super friendly, but we started sterilizing dogs, and I started doing that 2 years ago. But they come in absolutely terrible shape. So this is a little dog called Leonardo DiCaprio. On the left, he looks absolutely terrible, but a little bit of love, and most importantly, actually medicine. It doesn't cost, I think his treatment would have cost about $10, $15, but that's not a lot for maybe anybody in this room, but for a local, that's a day's wages. And they're not necessarily all owned, the dogs, so we can come in and help them. So I started doing this on my own, just learning as I went along. There was some crazy cases like, this is a dog called Bowie, and she was just abandoned in a villa. People just left during COVID and left her there on her own. On the left is when I brought her in, and I just brought her in because she was too hot in Thailand. It was obviously, she's a husky, and she was struggling, and I was like, what do I do with this? I brought her in. 3 weeks after she came along, I started to realize she was getting a little bit big around the belly, and she was pregnant. So I was with her when she had the babies in the middle of the night. Absolutely no idea what I was doing. They were coming out, and I was just sort of, I don't know who was more nervous, her or me, but we got through it together. We fixed her up, and she just recently got adopted. That's her in Germany, where she rightly belongs in a nice, cool climate. So we have some really, really nice stories. And what we do is we're very big on social media. That I just think there's a lot of bad news out there in the world, so we try and make really nice stories to spread the message, and it gives a really nice story arc to see her in her forever home. We also have dogs like, this is Derek, one of the first dogs we ever had, and I'm not a vet. I'm like, my background is in entrepreneuring and chefing, but like, he came in on the left. You can see just how bad he was, and we were able to build him back up. So there's an awful lot of neglect and abuse and really tough things that we have to see. But it's really, really rewarding for me to be able to do that. Obviously, my own background, I'm really, really open, and if anybody follows online, you'll see that, about anxiety and depression and people struggling in the workplace. Because I guarantee you, even in this room, I know from just messages I get on social media, like there's a huge amount of people suffering from burnout and anxiety and hiding different things. I mean, I'm really, really open about it online. So I get a lot of messages from people, from addiction to sickness to grief we're all managing so many tough things, and I still manage that on a daily basis. Like Derek, that dog that we built back up, sadly passed away, which was really, really tough, and I still feel that. But the one thing that you probably all know and you've heard it say is like it's good to hear from somebody else who maybe suffers. It's really good to talk to each other. I'm sure a lot of you are in management positions and you have staff and teams, and I know for myself from running businesses and suffering from depression and anxiety, it really, really is, I would say at a very rough guess, I would say at least 20% of people have some form of struggle in their daily life. And now, obviously, I have no boss. I look after dogs in Thailand, so it's easy for me to talk about it. But it's not easy for most people. You'd be surprised what people are hiding in there behind their nice, big, happy, perfect lives. So if there's one thing that I would say is just, try and go easy on people and appreciate that maybe you might not know what they're hiding behind. So that was obviously a start, more or less just me in the jungle, fixing myself from being an alcoholic, from being in that hospital bed. But I decided this feels like something really important and I want to have meaning in life. So I set up the charity, which is called Happy Doggo, just got the logos designed, and I was like, let's change the world. And this was something you hear a lot, like, let's change the world. But what does that really mean? It's really, really hard. I decided to focus on sterilizing, which is neutering. So that gets the population down. The way we think about it is there's so many dogs that there's no point just going around trying to fix broken legs or trying to fix dogs that have been abandoned or chained up. That's great, we do a little bit of that, but to fix the root core problem, same as you guys have in probably some big, hard problems you're trying to tackle, you have to really go after the crux of the problem, and that's overpopulation. So we started sterilizing. The first event we did was 50 dogs. In the first year, we sterilized 200 dogs, and that was really, really hard, but we're now up to a place where we sterilize 7,000 every month, so it's making a big difference. I was lucky enough to I live on an island in Thailand. It's called Koh Samui, if any of you have been there. I found a piece of land in the jungle, a really kind Thai woman. She's about 75, loves dogs, not able to do anything to help them physically anymore, but she had land, so she gave me this piece of land in the middle of the jungle and started to build a little sanctuary. So this was sort of year one. It was growing into something that I thought was quite cool and exciting. But still, there's a lot of sanctuaries. There's a lot of people helping dogs. I still didn't think we were really making a difference. What I started to see was we were kind of losing the battle, if I'm honest. It was really good for me personally to be helping dogs. It was good for the small amount of staff we had. And it was good for 30 or 50 dogs that we could help. But I realized we needed to scale. So too often we were losing the battle. There was dogs dying. Dogs like Big Mac there on the right. He's a street dog. We gave him a Big Mac we really look after the dogs. But it just wasn't big enough scale. I just decided that we needed to try and help dogs around the world. So since we started now, 3 years ago, just over 3 years ago, I decided the quickest way and I've been trying to read books about change, I've been trying to look at initiatives around the world. I figured out that we're really good at raising awareness, like maybe talking at a conference or raising money by doing social media posts. And those are the things that charities are actually really bad at. And so I decided the quickest way for us to do it was to fund charities who were struggling with those things. So we now have partners in 11 locations around Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and Thailand. And what we do is we issue them with grants to go and do the funding. So it's all about getting the money into the people's hands as quickly as possible. It's like if you work in big organizations, most of you, you know how slow things work, bureaucracy, how getting the money, to, especially in charities, to the point of the people who need it is really hard. So we trying to work on short-circuiting getting the money into the people's hands so they can conduct the operations really, really fast. So our goal is to try and do that all over the world. Sterilizations, these are our numbers, which, look, it's not very exciting if you're not in the dog business, probably, like I am, but each sterilization is an operation, and it costs about $50 to do an operation, give or take, depending where we're doing it. Cut open, do the little procedure, stitch them back up, and put them on the streets. But we sterilized, I think as of today, I saw the numbers this morning, we're at 70,000 dogs since I started 2 years ago, 2022, so 3 years ago. But we're trying to ramp that up really, really quickly, and we need to get to millions of dogs, which is tough. But each dog that we're sterilized, we think that we stop 10 dogs coming into the world. So the 10 to 15. So from the 70,000 we've done so far, we think we've stopped 1 million puppies being born into suffering. So I wanted to try and just explain that to you in terms of maybe one of you here thinks that you're not able to make a difference, or you're not able to make change, or you're not, like, you can. One person can do it if you start with an idea and push it forward. We have some amazing dogs. My favorite dog was Tina. She's a dog that I found on a chain, and that's her on the left. I think she looks as sad as you possibly can do as a dog. I saw that photo came into my WhatsApp from a tourist. Somebody said they'd seen this dog. Can we come and help her? And we built her back up into a beautiful creature that she is on the right. That only took 2 months. She really, really touched my heart because she had 7, 8 litters of puppies. They'd all been taken from her. She lived on the chain her whole life. And we built her back up, and I was going to keep her. She was an amazing dog, but very sadly, she passed away. As soon as she got better, actually, we found out she had kidney failure from all the years of abuse, and we buried her. But I remember that was stage 1 to get to where we were with her, and the food and the sterilizing, etc. And it really kicked me on. I said, this is like, there's just moments in your life where you're like, this is bad. I need to do something off the back of this. So luckily, Tina, I decided to build a hospital in her name. It's started online. I just put the idea out. I was still like upset and sad and grieving about her, and I just said, I'm going to make a hospital for Tina because we don't have enough facilities. So people rallied around without me even asking. This is an architect in New York. He's an award-winning architect. They asked if they could design the hospital free of charge. People started climbing mountains and fundraising and doing all sorts of stuff. So we've actually raised a good portion of the money, I think $750,000 to build the hospital. And that little piece of jungle that we have, that the woman gave us, this is the hospital. It's called Tina's Hospital for dogs who are not doing so good. It's in the jungle in the middle of Thailand. And it's kind of just testament, I think, to the legacy that one dog can have. We've actually started, the work has started. It's incredibly, building a hospital is tough. I didn't realize how tough it would be, especially in another country, in another culture. But this is what it's going to look like. There are dogs being treated there already today in the field hospital, and it's going to be a wonderful visitor experience as well. And Tina's buried in the middle of it, and the whole building is designed around her. So that's the hospital that'll treat thousands of dogs and is hopefully a haven for street dogs. I wanted to talk to you then. I've actually got, this is really, really exciting for me. I've got 2 dogs who came here today. We're going to meet them in a second. Adoptions are part of what we do. And the reason we do adoptions, I don't mind saying this, is we're not going to be able to, there's 10 million street dogs in Thailand. We're not going to be able to fix the problem of street dogs by adopting out dogs. But what they are really good at is it gives those dogs, individual dogs, a wonderful life, and it's a wonderful story. So we've adopted dogs all over the world. To America, we've adopted dogs to Germany, England, Ireland. This is Liam Gallagher, who's the lead singer of Oasis. He adopted a dog. It was very funny. I just logged into, we have a spreadsheet, a Google spreadsheet where people can apply on the website. And I logged in one day and I saw the applicant's name. The applicant's name was Liam Gallagher. And I was like, oh, somebody's got, same name as the Oasis singer. And then I saw the occupation on the spreadsheet said singer. And I was like, this is obviously my friends in Ireland taking the piss out of me. Somebody's having a laugh. But then the next fields kind of said, like, I saw it, his wife's name was there, or his partner's name was there, and it was her company had applied. So it turned out it was actually them. We went through the interview process, might have like sped him up a little bit in that and given him a bit of a free pass, but he adopted the dogs. And what we find is, and I think it's probably relevant for all of your guys' businesses, is I'm a huge believer in storytelling. So it's a lot harder to measure, but I think the impact of one person like Liam Gallagher adopting a dog, a street dog, and showing that there's maybe other ways to go about getting dogs is incredibly powerful. So the adoptions for us are really about storytelling and humanizing the story, whereas the hard impact that we have is the sterilizing. Those 70,000 dogs that we sterilized, it's not glamorous, it's not sexy. People don't really care about it, if I'm honest. If we put up a story about sterilizing, they couldn't care less. But if you put up a nice story about Liam Gallagher, it definitely helps. But I wanted to tell you about two incredible dogs. This is I see a lot of really bad dogs. We see dogs that have been shot. We see dogs that have been, what else have I seen? Poisoned. It's really, really horrible to see a dog poisoned. But we've seen, I've seen 10 dogs poisoned in one go, and they're all dying as you arrive. But this is one of the most shocking that I saw. Myself and Sybil, who helps me, a German woman, were called out on a Sunday morning, and sometimes we're full in the shelter. We don't go over capacity because it's very easy to gather up dogs. But sometimes you see a picture and you have to go the second you see it. That picture on the left is a dog called Faith and Phoenix. They were both in the same cage. They both looked as horrific, and we arrived there, and that doesn't even look like a dog, to be honest, on the left. And it was, if anything, it was actually nearly worse when you saw it in real life. The smell is something that I will never forget. If you look at little Faith's eye, this is actually after we'd been in the vets. She had maggots in there because the cut had been open for so long. She might have got a hit from a stick, maybe poked into her, but she had a big hole there, and maggots were eaten inside her. The two of them were in terrible condition. We took them to the vets, and it took 6 hours to groom them. If anybody's got a dog, they'll know grooming is not easy, but their fur was like concrete. I'm not joking you. It was like rock hard. You could just cut it, it was so hard. So it took 6 hours. They had to be sedated for part of that. And the recovery took about 3 or 4 months. But the good news is they were looking for a home, and I thought it was going to be really, really hard to find them a home because they're dogs who'd been, a lot of people want a perfect dog, really, really hard. But luckily, we built them back up, and they got a dog. They got a home here in Ireland. Two wonderful ladies said they would adopt it. And the very exciting part is they're actually here today. And I haven't seen them since I rescued them and sent them over. I think it was in about October, November. I haven't seen them, but I think they're somewhere here, and they're going to come on stage now, and you'll see how good they look compared to the original one. So I don't know where they are, but if you want to come on to stage now, that would be amazing. Oh, they're there. I literally haven't seen them since they're... Oh, they're absolutely spoiled. This is Melanie and Patsy who adopted them. And they look absolutely fantastic. Hey, hey, Phoenix. Oh, he's a little bit nervous. Hello, mister.
And here comes the Queen.
Oh.
She remembers you.
Yeah, how are you? I don't know who's looking more fabulous, you or them. But these are wonderful dogs. I'm just going to grab the mic actually, just so as you can say. We do a little bit of help on the ground, but it's people like Melanie and Patsy here who do them. So when did they actually arrive?
We arrived into Dublin on the 19th of December, 19th. So they were our Christmas babes. In fact, my husband bought her for me for Christmas. He paid for everything.
I wish he paid for everything for me as well.
And how have they settled in, Melanie?
Well, you'll be glad to hear, Niall, that Phoenix was the shyer of the two, that, Faith was very much the advocate. He's found his voice, and he has a big brother at home who's a 13-year-old grumpy schnauzer, and Flumpy has told Phoenix to bark at golden retrievers. Oh. Because they never bark back.
And Little Faith, in fairness, Little Faith was the worst out of the two. She had worse injuries. She's looking unbelievable.
Look, she's a fantastic dog. Do you know what? She's so joyful. She doesn't carry any baggage from what happened to her. She literally has the biggest personality. She's made herself at home. I've 3 other dogs at home, and she loves them. And by God, has she taken her place in that house, I can tell you. And she's got very pudgy. Uh-oh. So she does fly with me quite a bit, so we have to get the pudginess down, because she's allowed in the cabin if she's under 7 kilos. I think we might be a little bit further at this stage.
Well, brilliant. I'm just going to finish the talk, and then I can't wait to spend time with them in a second. But yeah, if you saw these dogs before to where they go, and you two have done a wonderful job with them, so well done.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Niall.
No worries.
Thank you so much.
I think. No worries. So yeah, if I go back I think everybody will want to have a photo with them after, which I think they'll be more than happy to. If I just go back a slide, like that's the same dogs this time last year, or this time probably last summer. I think it was about July or August. But you can see how out of 8 million dogs, we're not going to be able to save them all. But what a turnaround for those two, and to have such wonderful parents looking after them makes their day. So that's what really drives me on. Saving the dogs is tough, but when you see stories like that, it just really puts everything at ease. I'm just going to finish up now. It's a bit of a random story in my life, but what I wanted you to kind of hopefully take away is when I was in that hospital bed, I was 41, and you cannot get more rock bottom. I just literally drank myself to death. I was as miserable as you could be in life, but I think it just shows you that there's always a chance to find what your real passion is. Maybe there's something in your business, in your organization, in your private life that you've always been thinking of doing. And the one thing that I always come across, everybody, myself included, was I used to be kind of scared to take that little jump, fear of failure. I would have always loved to work with dogs, but I always found a way to not do it. And I'd say it's the same for a lot of you guys. Just find something that you really love. And from going to that, being in hospital, being miserable, I am probably as happy a person as I could ever be now, which I don't mind saying and boasting about, because before that I was miserable trying to drink myself to death. So I hope you'll find something in there, and I hope you all go and lead happy lives and chase your dreams. So thank you very much. Can I go here?
All right, thank you, Neil. I have to tell you, when Erica Assured came up with this idea and reached out to your people, I'm sure you thought, what am I going to talk to food safety people about, right? But I, for one, am thrilled to meet you. I'm happy that you're here. Everyone knows I'm a dog crazy person, so this is exciting. So your journey from chef to entrepreneur and leading Happy Doggo is truly extraordinary. You've described your journey as one of personal healing and purpose. And so how did that process of caring for street dogs impact your own life outlook?
I think just dogs are very good at living in the moment. So some of those examples, even the two, Faith and Phoenix, like they lived in cages, for we don't know how long. It's always very hard to figure out. But look at them now, like they're not a care in the world, spoiled. So what I've learned from dogs and just helping them in general is, don't live in the past. And I would have been as guilty of that. Like I had trauma from my childhood, that's why I drank. But don't live in the past. Just try and push forward and live in the moment and seize the opportunity. It's, life really is very, very short, and just embrace every chance you can get. That's what dogs do. They come out and abundance of love and running around. So try and copy them if you can.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of wisdom to be learned from dogs, for sure. So, your organization has grown rapidly. You showed us some demographics about how it's grown over the years. What were some of the challenges that you had in making that scale up and being able to deliver on what you're doing?
Definitely culturally and language in different markets. Like I used to have a business here, and we went into the UK, and that was, already so different. But now I'm in Thailand, culturally and language. So what I've really realized is as many Thai staff and as many really good, trustworthy people as possible who are local. There's no point a bald, white, middle-aged Irish man coming in telling them what to do. It's much better coming from local people who are also passionate about dogs. So finding unbelievably good people is really important.
I think I could not agree more. In food safety, many of these organizations here, they're global organizations. They work across different cultures, and I think that's good advice for the food safety community as well. Now, you mentioned here towards the end of your talk that storytelling is so important, right? And the importance of getting people to understand your mission. And I would say, as food safety professionals, we're probably not very good at being storytellers, not as good as we should be, whether it's trying to educate consumers or employees, or more importantly, talking to the C-suite and getting their buy-in and changing that culture. So what advice would you have for food safety people in how to be better storytellers?
I think the thing with storytelling, like actually our stories I think are inspirational and stuff, but if you see what the raw material is, it's like depressing and sad and traumatic, and you just have to find positive angles. And no subject, like you might think, oh, food safety, we're not, what can we do on social media? The latest guy I'm watching on TikTok, on my personal TikTok, it's so random. He's like a captain of a container ship. He's an Irish guy. I don't know if anybody here follows him. And all he does is like he drives his container ship around the world, but he's like explains how he does it. And it sounds really, really boring, but I just find it fascinating to see. But it's about him. He's an interesting person. And I'm sure in all your organizations, there's one, people like to watch people. Is what I find. So if you find somebody interesting in your organization and tell maybe their stories, it can be really powerful, because it doesn't matter what the subject is. You might first thing you might think food safety. Oh, we're too boring for social media. Might be the first impression, but it's not. If you find the right people and the right angle, there's always something there.
Yeah, so find that story, find that personal connection, and that will resonate with the people.
Yeah, if you even look at all the brands now on social media and everything, they're putting people back into it. It's really like even the biggest brands, fast food brands, or like they're trying to find ways to put their staff and their people into the storytelling, and I think that's how you win.
Yeah, I think there's a fast food brand in the United States that does that very well. And I think there might be some food safety people, at least on TikTok. I have a friend here who's obsessed with TikTok, and she's always sending me things. So your story, it resonates with everyone. I mean, come on, dogs. I mean, do I need to say more? But I think it's a perfect example how, although you didn't start out with this vision of feeding these dogs, it kind of evolved, and how that one person's vision can really impact the multitudes and inspire change along the way. And I think if you look around the room today, you know, we have hundreds of food safety professionals working towards a goal of, you know, having safe food for all people everywhere. And so I want to bring a few questions back and make a connection to food safety. And I love how you talked about identifying sterilization as actually the root of the issue. And in food safety, that's what we do. We identify the root cause. So it's great root cause analysis, love it. It's very central to what we do, and I'd like to draw a couple of other parallels with food safety. So I follow you on social media, and yes, I am a subscriber. And I've read your first book, Hope, How Street Dogs Taught Me the Meaning of Life, and I cannot wait for the Tina book to come out. And I think it's being released in the US on May 6th, for those of you in the US. Not that I have noticed, but I look forward to reading it. And I know from your work and social media and your book, you know, you do what you do because it's the right thing to do and because you care passionately. And I would say most people in food safety, they don't go in it for the hours, they don't go in it for the money, they go in it because they're passionate about it. So is doing the right thing really what motivates you to keep going? And what advice would you have for food safety professionals to keep striving to keep the consumer safe and at the forefront of all the decisions you make? Because clearly the dogs are always at the forefront of the decisions you make.
Yeah, I think, yeah, before, when I used to, like, I don't mind even saying it, like, I thought that, like, you know, money or status or those things were important before I ended up in hospital, but it's not. You've got to be passionate. I've never been as happy as when I've got the passion of the dog. So if you put the passion for the customer or the consumer at the forefront of that, and like if you're all passionate about it, you got to wake up in the morning and love what you do, which obviously people here do. So yeah, trying to just go back to your. Sometimes I think you get a little bit lost in your career and your life where you're just sort of plodding along. You've got to go back to where you were when you were maybe, I don't know, 25 or 20, whatever, maybe you left college and got into it. Why did you get into it in the first place? And sometimes you forget that, you know, like you got to go back to your passion and remember why you first jumped into this space, I think.
Yeah, excellent advice. I can certainly relate to that. I used to work for Disney, and when you're having a bad day at the office, you know, I could leave my office and go to the animal kingdom for lunch and be surrounded by my product, and it reminded me what I did. No offense to Liz Duffy, who might be here, but it didn't work that way at Walmart. But still, I mean, you do need to make sure that you're out there and connecting with your consumers, so that's great. You mentioned in a lot of your social media posts, too, that you're not the only and not even the first to try to tackle the street dog program or problem in Thailand and in other countries, because you're in a lot of other countries, and we talked about some of the challenges that I've seen during travels. But you're the most well-known by far, right? And, you know, with your Happy Doggo group, you've managed to create this sense of community. And I see that some of these other people that are concerned about street dogs, they call you all the time. You know, I've got a dog, you've got to go across the island. So how do you think, you know, these people have helped you kind of amplify, you know, your cause? And based on the lessons you've learned from that, how do you think that food safety professionals can look at that as how to amplify their message by building a stronger community?
Yeah, the community part's really hard because my passion is helping the dogs. Like those first slides where I'm like actually doing the dog part is what I love. And I'm so buzzed when you help one dog individually and you can see a difference. And even Faith and Phoenix, like I can see like they've changed their lives, their families' lives, everything. It's when you get pulled in, like you get a bit bigger, you get pulled into, everybody knows you get pulled into, you know, performance reviews and spreadsheets and that sort of stuff, which is what's needed in a bigger business. But I think, yeah, just always going back to the roots of why you do it. Like I try to, my heart is in the like jungle helping the street dogs. So, but I do like a lot of, for example, rescues like most of them fail or most of them struggle to make money because they don't do stuff like this. They don't go out and like shake hands and meet people and try and do social media. And like, I'm not gonna lie, it's not my favorite thing. I want to be helping the dogs, but you've got to think of the bigger picture. So building networks and building audience is like absolutely paramount for the dogs. It's not, it doesn't like, does me sitting here help one dog today? No, but it helps spread the word about the mission and bring more people in and make people passionate about it. So it's a balance, yeah.
Yeah, no, it is when you have a passion about something, it does make it easier. But you're right, I think sometimes we get so lost in what we're doing and the how, and that we stopped and don't think about that bigger picture. So that's great advice. So I can ask so many more questions, but I'd like to take some questions from the attendees in the room because I know there's got to be at least a few. Is there, as you know, people are getting the microphones brought to them, there's one over here. Do you have any thing else that you'd like to share with the audience about how they can make a difference? Just one person making a difference, whether it be in food safety or even in their own communities.
I think just go and do it. Like really, you know, you can think so much about like one thing that I'm really annoyed with is like I was in Dublin for 20 or 15 years and I never went to, I always loved dogs. Why did I not just go and walk dogs in a charity at the weekends? And it's just go and do it. Like you can find a million reasons to put stuff off. We're all busy. We're all, you know, stretched, and like just put your phone down for an hour and don't scroll, you know, doom scroll on your phone and go and do something good. So I think, yeah, it's just take action. It's, you know, you don't need a big strategy. You don't need to think about it for 6 months. You just like, I fed the first dog was the action I took. And I didn't know it would lead to this, but just take action and do something.
Fantastic. I love it. Taking action. I think we had a question over here.
Hello there. Hi there. First of all, thank you so much for your amazing story and your honesty and the ability for us to change ourselves. It's really incredibly inspiring. So I understand that neutering the dogs will reduce the problem, but I just wondered if the core of the problem is not around educating people why they should not abuse dogs, and what have you done around trying to solve it from that angle? Yeah,
there's actually, so sterilizing is one tool that we have. I think there's 3 tools that we're working on: sterilizing, education, and then legislation. So getting governments to enforce. There are cruelty laws in Thailand; they're not enforced. We're going to be able to do quite a bit on our own, but we need government support. Like we need like mass buy-in from a population of 80 million, which I'm not going to be able to do on my own. So the sterilizing is number one. I can see like spend $50, you save one, or you stop one dog from having multiple litters of puppies. The education one, the hardest part that I have with the education is, I think the best way, like when you think of education, what should a charity do? Everybody thinks like, oh, get pamphlets into schoolrooms and talk to, you know, kids. And yeah, maybe that works, but I happen to think it's via phones. Like everybody's glued to their phone, especially in Thailand. And if we can if we can shape the narrative of making dogs, you know, not cool, but, you know, that they're desirable and they're good things, I think we can do that via phone. So sterilizing is a tool, then educating them en masse. I'm just struggling with the like ROI. So like if we went and spent $100,000, I just made that up, on, you know, marketing campaigns, how do we measure that impact? And it's possible, but it's very hard. So that's why I like sterilizing, because it's concrete action. But that, and then the legislation, I haven't tackled yet, but we need to get probably like lobbyists or people who can interact with government to get us. But I'm still at the stage where I'm so, like, we're only 3 years in, and I really like the like concrete things that make a direct change. But actually, if you look at it, I would say that spending money on education or legislation might have a much wider impact. But it's just a little bit harder to in my mind, to justify that spend at the moment until I know how it works.
It's interesting that you say that. I work for an organization that spends a lot of time advocating to governments, to policymakers. We heard from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration this morning, and advocating for having legislation that is, for us in food safety, grounded in science, risk-based, prevention-based, makes the difference. And the one thing that I have noticed when I've gone to Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., is the policymakers, the legislators, they want to hear the story.
Okay.
So I think the story will be important when you get in front of those legislators in Thailand, because it's when that makes that connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Another question. No other questions? Well, I have another question, because I have a lot of questions. So you showed a slide about the work you're doing in other communities. So what's the global vision here? I mean, unfortunately, I told you, I mean, you've got a lot of going in Southeast Asia, but I mentioned I was in Ecuador last year or 2 years ago, and a street dog problem there. And quite frankly, there's probably some areas of the United States that even has that. So are you looking to widen that community, and what resources do you need? Because we do have people that work in animal health and pet food companies here in this room.
Yeah, well, the overall goal is there's 500 million street dogs in the world, and my ambition in my lifetime, which is, I don't know, hopefully I can live, I'm 45, maybe I can live for 30 years if I'm lucky, I don't know. I'm going to work on it my whole life. My ambition is to halve the number of street dogs, which is from 500 million down to 250 million, which is a bit insane as a goal, but you have to shoot for the stars. And I think it's back to that person's question. It's like bigger government institutional funding at a global level, but we're ramping up fast at the moment, but like it's not even the time. Like, we're big and we're probably going to be the biggest in the world very soon, but it's not even a drop in the ocean. So I need to figure out ways to go faster, unfortunately, but that can be for next week.
Yeah. Well, I have a friend, when I started a big job with a big promotion one time, that gave me a little gift, and it's a box, and it says courage on the top. And you open it up, and inside of the lid, there's a little badge that says courage, and it says, feel the fear and do it anyway. And I've always loved that, because I'm like, okay. And I'm getting ready to start another new job in 6 weeks, and so there's a little bit of fear with that one, but I'm going to do it anyway. So, so I know that I'm not the only crazy dog lady in the room, Amy Parks. I don't know where she is, but there's a lot of dog lovers here. So what can we do? I mean, we're not all in Southeast Asia. Some of the folks in here might be, but what can we do as part of this global community to help advance that message?
I think just like one thing I'd never ask for donations or anybody to follow, but I think people just follow along the story, and like you'll sort of educate yourself and see a little bit more about the dogs. Just follow along, and hopefully it's not depressing. Like a lot of charities, I feel like I wanted to do it differently, because a lot of charities rely on sort of fear, putting the worst message out there, saying send us money now, or we're going to close down. Like, we're the opposite. We try and tell an inspiring story, and it's mission driven, and we're making a difference. So literally just follow along and have a look and see what you think. That's a good start.
And like you said, it's happy messaging. So with all the other insanity going on in the world, it's a nice way to start and or end your day. Yeah. So bringing it back to advice for food safety professionals for a moment, several weeks ago, maybe about 6 weeks ago, you hit a rough spot. You were having a hard time. You were talking about burnout. You were very candid, and it was great to see somebody willing to go out there and say, this is what I'm going through and this is why. And you mentioned a little bit about burnout in the conversation, but this is a real problem with food safety professionals. Our jobs require us to be on call 24/7, 365. You know, I did get a call last night at 1:30 in the morning about a company who's having a food safety issue. So, you know, burnout's a real problem. And so how do you cope with the challenges of burnout? Because these dogs are always going to be there and always need you. And what advice do you have for food safety professionals?
Oh, I'm the wrong person to ask because I'm like perpetually burnt out or coming back from a burnout. But I think that the biggest problem I think at the moment, and I'm trying to do it in Happy Doggo, is like the lines have blurred. I think it started during COVID. Like work has creeped into WhatsApp now. I don't know if, I'm sure all you guys are, you know, working via WhatsApp and Slack or Teams or whatever it is you use. And the working from home and all those things are great, but like it has slipped into like a 24/7 culture of work, and it might just be one ping on your phone, but like that's coming through on a Saturday night, you know, when you're organizing a dinner party or you're going to a football game, whatever it is you're doing.
Or
And
just hanging out with your dog?
Yeah, and it's just upset your whole weekend, you know, like with that one message. So I think I'm going to try and do it when I get back, is like move work off WhatsApp. It sneaks in there quite a lot where, you know, it's a lot more casual. You just a little emoji with your boss or a little, you know, whatever. And I don't really think that's healthy. I think employees, you need some separation. And the other thing is just mental health. Really, believe me, so many people suffer it, and they're suffering in silence. You know, I guarantee you there's people in this room going like, yep, that's me. And I don't know how to tell anybody in work, or I don't even maybe know how to tell my partner or my friends. And it's like an illness. If I walked off the stage and sprained my ankle, and you know, I'd go to the doctor. So if you're struggling with burnout and you know you're not able to get out of bed, or you're closing the curtains to avoid the world, like maybe you need to go see the doctor. And should be no shame in that, you know.
Well, and dogs can help with that too. I mean, I know that dogs are your life, but I mean, you know, I can't remember the name of the dog, and I apologize, but when you were in the hospital, you had your dog that was like your soul dog, and
Snoop.
that was, that's what got you through, right? So, you know, those of us that are dog lovers or cat lovers, you have your soul animal, so that's fantastic. We have just a few minutes left. I'll do one more check of the audience. Yes, Isabel.
I have a big mouth. So I was like, how do you adopt a dog?
Oh, great question.
Yeah, on the website happydoggo.com, and then there's dogs up there to adopt, and we pick them very carefully because they're street dogs. They're not, you know, they do have. I mean, the little ones are little angels. They're not going to cause trouble, but there's bigger ones. We're very selective about the dogs that we rehome. Yeah.
Yeah, but Bowie and Prince were both, well, at least Bowie was rehomed. Prince was her partner, right?
Yeah, they were brother, partner, we're not
something.
sure. Yeah, related. So they're in
Companion.
in Wales now. But yeah, there's dogs all over the world. Dogs in America. I think we've rehomed close to 100 at this stage. Right. Yeah.
And you said there was a Google form on your website, I believe.
Yeah. There's an application process. Yeah.
Excellent. There's a question right here. We have time for probably two.
Recognizes your voice, and she is going mad to get up on the stage.
Well, bring her up. I mean, I can
will.
hold her.
I'm going to put her up as soon as you finish talking. It's quite extraordinary. So she really must have had such a connection. Phoenix is a bit more laid back about the whole thing.
Yeah.
He's a dude, yeah. So first of all, for Melanie and myself, we just wanted to acknowledge and thank you for saving these two dogs and bringing them into our lives. It has been, I cannot explain to you, the most extraordinary, wonderful experience, joyful, happy, and extraordinary. And also it has brought Melanie and myself so close as well. So thank you for all the other dogs as well. Now, you are living with Hank.
Yes.
Who we love.
Oh, yeah.
Do you find that having Hank with you is a really important part? I mean, I know you had Tina and you had Snoop, and
Brittany.
You've had a really tough role of it recently with some of the dogs passing away. So does Hank actually, is he the one that sort of pulls you through, keeps you going? would that be a fair comment, or how would you evaluate your relationship with Hank?
Yeah, Hank, he's one of those, he sort of drives me mad sometimes as well. It's probably like having a partner, you know, like, I love him to bits, but then he also drives me ballistic sometimes for his behavior. No, he's fantastic. It's nice to have a dog to come home to, and he's wonderful. And thanks to you guys, by the way, because like we can adopt dogs, but I see the dogs for 3 months. You have them for the rest of their lives. So it's the people who adopt them that are like my heroes. So thank you.
I think I'm on dog 7, I think. 7, well, 6 and 7. In the back. Oh, Liz.
No, thank you. So thank you so much for sharing your story. It's amazing. I'm also a dog lover. Hopefully everyone in here is, and we're all Googling how to adopt. But you shared a lesson learned just different from other charities and how they approach, just how you were telling your story. Any other like lessons learned or just things that you've done maybe in your approach that you've learned that have been successful?
From a charity perspective or all?
Both.
Yeah. I think just like if you probably follow charities online from someone, and I just, rightly or wrongly, I mean, I don't even want to see dogs being abused and dogs, like you're on your phone to see a little bit of, but I guess the fear stroke, you know, like the crying children in Africa or the really shocking images must make you donate more, I think, because all the charities do it, but I just think there's maybe a different way that, I like to think that what we do is people feel that they're part of a mission and that we're making a change and they can see, rather than like telling them the bad stuff, I'd rather tell them about the good stuff we're doing, and then people are like, oh, I'd like to be a part of that, and I feel like good stuff is happening. So I mean, we all read the news or try to ignore it at the moment, and I think if any of you can put a positive slant on anything, like just be over the top positive at the moment, because the world kind of needs as much of it as possible. It really, you know, online is quite toxic and angry, and I'm not even talking about one specific thing. Everybody just seems angry about everything. So, but yeah, positivity, I think, will make you win at the moment.
Yeah, great advice. Be positive and I'd be part of the greater mission, right? Be part of the solution and not the problem. Yeah. And you should probably talk to Liz, because her husband is the CEO of a dog resort. So just saying, in case Jason wants to donate. So anyway, great. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here. I know that I've enjoyed it, and I'm sure everybody else has as well.
Come here, Faithy.
Faith.
Faithy.
Faith.
Hello, darling. Hey, darling.
I believe the dogs will be around for a little bit for photo ops, if that's the case. And Isabel, I think you're coming back up on stage.
Oh, you're beautiful.
What a fabulous story to end with, and really highlighting the power of positivity. But, you know, there's some themes that have really, I found, have kind of converged over the last 2.5 days. Communication, how important that is. Collaboration, and also community. And this is one of the most fabulous communities I think there is, and that I have the joy to work with. And they all contribute to establishing this all-important trust. And that is something that's come up again and again and again, whether it's saving dogs or making sure the food that we eat is safe. So huge congratulations and thanks to everybody here, all the delegates who have shown up every day, if it's morning or evening, to all the fabulous events and presentations and panels that have taken place. Also the speakers, just such high-level discussions that we've enjoyed and learnt so much from. And then, you know, any event like this, we have to thank the CGF staff. You know, an event like this is just not possible without them. You know, on a personal basis, I get so much help from Amaya, from Tom, who are probably here, or probably Tom's probably hiding somewhere in the back, no doubt. So thank you to them, but all the CGF staff who are just so outstanding. But then we have the technical teams, you know, the guys back here, but also in the breakout rooms. You know, their work is so seamlessly perfect that we don't even notice that they're there, you know. So massive thanks to all the technical staff who've made this just such a perfect event, the interpreters, the hostesses, and of course the GFSI Steering Committee for their really powerful commitment to make GFSI 2025 such a successful event, and not least, of course, the Programme Committee, who for months have been working on this perfect programme. So I'd like to give all those people a huge hand of applause. Thank you so much.